So here's a tough question. While you worry about safety complacency on your front line, have you become complacent about developing your supervisors? I mean, think about that for a moment. You expect your supervisors to fight complacency with their teams, and yet many companies have left their supervisors to just figure it out. Every day you put supervisors in charge of keeping teams safe and engaged. You ask them to spot and stop the complacent behaviors, and yet you send them out there without the leadership skills they need to prevent complacency. What message does that send to your organization about how seriously you take safety? Look, investing in your supervisor's leadership skills isn't just about improving safety. It's about breaking the cycle of complacency at every level of your organization. You know that dangerous comfort zone where employees start thinking, won't happen to me? Well, that's complacency creeping in. It's when following safety protocols becomes so routine that people start cutting corners. I mean, cast your mind back to your days in the field. I'm sure you can picture that one guy, maybe he'd been operating the same machine for 20 years, and because he'd never been injured, thought he didn't need his safety glasses anymore. Well, that right there, that's complacency. And the tricky thing about this mindset is how quickly it can spread. It's like a wildfire affecting not just one person's safety, but the team dynamics and overall productivity. And before you know it, you're staring at rising incident rates, plummeting morale, and the very real risk of serious incidents. You know, when supervisors aren't given the leadership skills they need to succeed, they fall into the same trap you're asking them to prevent. They become complacent, and that has this ripple effect through your whole organization. Look, here's what happens. Your supervisors start running the same old safety meetings. They give the same tired reminders. They watch their teams just go through the motions. And if this sounds familiar, it's because you've become complacent about how you develop your frontline leaders. You put them out there and expect them to magically know how to keep their teams engaged. I mean, let's look at the investment you've made in equipment. You wouldn't dream of skipping maintenance on a $1 million machine, yet every day you skip maintenance on something far more valuable, your supervisor's leadership skills. It's like once they're promoted, they're expected to just figure out the rest on their own. This hits your bottom line in ways you might not expect. Oh, sure, complacent teams have more incidents, more close calls, but complacent supervisors, well, they struggle to keep good people engaged, and your best employees start looking elsewhere. Not because they don't care about safety, but because they want to work with leaders who can actually inspire and guide them. Look, without proper training, your supervisors can't build the kind of teams that look out for each other. They can't create the safety culture you're looking for. Instead of having leaders who prevent problems, you end up with supervisors who just react to them. Well, the solution starts with taking a hard look in the mirror. Are you being complacent about developing your supervisors? Because if you expect them to fight complacency on the front line, you need to stop being complacent about giving them the tools to do it. You know, your supervisors spend more time with your employees than anyone else in the company. They're your first and best defense against complacency. But here's the disconnect. They get promoted because they're good at their technical jobs, and then they're expected to automatically know how to lead, engage, and motivate their people. Look, a great supervisor does more than just oversee operations. They build teams that care about working safely. They create environments where shortcuts aren't acceptable, and they know how to have those important one-on-one conversations that keep people focused and engaged. But these aren't natural skills, they're learned. And if you're complacent about teaching these skills, well, how can you expect your supervisors to fight complacency in others? But look at what happens when supervisors get the proper leadership training. They learn to communicate in ways that get people's attention. They discover how to run effective and efficient safety meetings that create high levels of engagement and participation. They develop the skills to recognize when engagement is dropping and know how to fix it. And they build teams and a culture where people actually look out for each other. But honestly, most companies have become complacent about developing these skills in their supervisors. Look, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that authority alone is enough. It's not. Your supervisors need more than just a title. They need the tools and the skills to keep their teams alert, engaged, and safe. Remember, supervisors can only fight complacency when they're equipped to do so. Stay complacent about their development, and you're setting them and their teams up to fail. So let's talk about what really happens when safety gets stale in your company. Think about your best supervisors, the ones who keep their team sharp and engaged. Look, they do more than just remind people about rules. They build teams that actually care about keeping each other safe. But these supervisors are rare. Most supervisors struggle because they've never been taught how to lead teams effectively. And they're afraid to ask for help because they think they're supposed to know how to do it. But here's the good news. You can create more of these high-performing supervisors. When you give them proper leadership skills, once they learn how to create a connection with the members of their teams, they're more likely to intervene on the warning signs of complacency before accidents happen. They'll bring out the conversation and participation of their people in safety meetings that get people talking. And they build trust with their teams through regular one-on-one talks. Most importantly, they create crews that take pride in working safely. Your supervisors are out there with your people every single day, and they're either catching problems early or they're missing them completely. Look, the choice is pretty simple. Give them the tools they need now, or wait for complacency to catch up with you later. When complacency sets in, your supervisors without leadership skills, they end up going through the motions. Safety meetings become routine, toolbox talks turn into checkbox exercises, near misses get brushed off, and pretty soon, teams are operating on autopilot, and that's when things start to slip. Now, think about your turnover costs. Your best employees don't want to stick around workplaces where safety's taken for granted. They want leaders who take an active interest in their well-being. And when you lose those experienced workers, you lose their safety knowledge too. Then you're spending time and money hiring and training new people, hoping that they don't fall into the same patterns. And productivity takes a hit too. Complacent teams managed by untrained supervisors just focus on getting the job done, not necessarily getting it done right. Look, when engagement drops, quality suffers, production slows down, and safety becomes just another box to check. Nobody wins in that situation. But here's the real cost: missed opportunities to build a safety-focused culture. Look, when supervisors don't have the leadership skills, they can't really fight complacency. They can't develop their team members into safety champions. And they can't build the kind of high-performing teams that look out for each other. Here's where the PeopleWork Supervisor Academy comes in. We've created something different, a program that transforms your supervisors into leaders who know how to keep their teams engaged and focused on safety. This isn't about sitting them in classrooms for days on end. Instead, we focus on practical skills your supervisors can use right away, and we do it in under 10 minutes a day. Your supervisors will learn how to connect with their teams, how to have meaningful conversations. They'll discover how to run safety meetings that actually get people involved and thinking, not just checking boxes. Our programs show supervisors how to build trust with their teams, the kind that makes people care about safety again. They learn to recognize and celebrate when their people are working safely, which builds way more engagement than just pointing out what's wrong. And they discover how to create teams that take pride in looking out for each other. I mean, think about the best supervisor you ever had, the one who kept the team motivated and engaged. Well, our program helps create more leaders like that. We show them how to coach their people. They learn to build the kinds of teams where everyone feels valued and part of something important. When supervisors graduate from our program, they're not the same leaders they were before. They've got new tools, new confidence, and a clear plan for keeping their teams engaged and committed to safety. Best of all, they know how to make safety something their people want to be part of. All right, let's be honest here. You spend a lot of time talking about safety complacency on the front line. But what about complacency and how you develop your supervisors? When you put supervisors out there without the proper training, you're showing the same complacency you say you're trying to prevent. Look, you understand the cost of complacency and safety, but today I'm asking you to think about the cost of complacency in leadership development. Your supervisors are the key to keeping your teams alert, engaged, and safe. Now remember your own journey from the shop floor to your current position. Someone invested in your development. Someone gave you the tools to succeed. Well, now it's time for you to do the same for your supervisors. Investing in your supervisors through the PeopleWork Supervisor Academy isn't just about safety. It's about showing your entire organization that complacency isn't acceptable at any level. When you invest in developing strong, frontline leaders, you're building a future where safety isn't just talked about every day, it's lived every day at every level. But the power to make that change is in your hands. So let's work together to make complacency a thing of the past, not just on your front line, but in how you develop the frontline supervisors who actually keep your people safe.